blokes sitting around talking football, blokes sitting around talking about mental health and things as well is important, and something I think that we should do on the podcast. We do a lot of football stuff, so if this is something that you're not interested in, absolutely fine. We're still going to do it anyway.
When the football would finish, I'd like to basically just be spending every Saturday night like on my own. I was struggling. When I look back now, like I'm fine now. When I look back now, I genuinely at that point I was really struggling, was really low.
Like we went out for Owen's birthday last year, and there's a Blues fan tweeting about us sat in the same pub garden. It's like he's calling us some horrific names on Twitter, and I can see him over there. It's like, what are you doing?
Between real life, like those Blues fans who've been quite light-hearted, chucking the scarf on you, and then when it gets to Twitter, that's when people are saying all manner of things. Even Villa fans, and I think sometimes the worst reaction from Villa fans, like, oh, I'd never let that happen.
We were both going through long-term relationship breakups at a similar time while they were coming to an end. You know, we both went from having everything in life to nothing. We've picked each other up out of the trenches over the years. We really have, and I think everybody in this room at some point I've been vulnerable with.
Like, our brains aren't wired to just be so open to everybody constantly all the time. Like, to have like thousands of people like in your phone all the time, it's just too much, I think, to like deal with.
I was in the car and there's some back and forth, and they sent me an email. I said, right, I'm going to hand in my notice now, blah, 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 blah. I'll take the job. I'll take the risk. Just as I'm about to hand in my notice, they pull the job from me. I've still got the email and I still look at it sometimes, because that's what really made me try and take a next level, because I was so pissed off with what they'd done.
When my son was born, it was for the birth. His mum had it far worse, obviously, but something that is not spoken about is what the dads go through as well. And obviously there's only two of us here that are dads. I will never forget driving to the hospital in the morning at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and she had to have a emergency C-section. Do you want to tell us a story about your dad?
Yeah, it's not like a major groundbreaking story or anything, but like obviously he's getting a bit old, so like it's quite nice in a way, isn't it? Because I kind of take him to the villa now, like he would have taken me when I was a kid, and I have to like help him down the stairs and stuff to get to our seat. But like he's getting old, but I still love going with him, because it's obviously not going to be forever. But I just
sounds like you don't. The way
I do love going with him still.
But you can't wait to put him in home.
No, but like we'll drive to a game, and obviously when you're on the way to a game, you talk about Villa. So I'll like tell him stuff and we'll tell him stories and things that I've heard through the week and whatever, and I'll tell him a story, and then we'll go, and then like we'll be sat in the seat before the game starts, and he'll go. Let's say I've just told a story about Leon Bailey. Like in the car, which was probably like an hour ago. So then we sit in our seat, and now he'll go, I heard the other day that Leon Bailey did this, and I'd be like, I told you in the car on the way here. So it's just like, the mind is just going, like he can't remember things, and he doesn't. The only thing that is sad now, I would say, is that I don't feel like he ever sees the ball go in the back of the net, especially when we're attacking the whole end, because when you get near the penalty area, people kind of stand up, don't they? And he can't get up quick enough. So I'm convinced he hasn't seen the ball hit the net all season. He probably thinks every game's 0-0. Like he just doesn't never see the ball go in the back of the net.
End. I can't.
You can't see it.
Is that an eyesight thing?
Yeah, I always want to move. I do. Road 24 or K4 is quite far back there.
You've got your bifolds on as well.
I know. As well. Comments I got in the last video about, because it was all Liverpool fans, because no Villa fans watched it.
Oh, your video.
Look at his glasses. Does he really need them to be like, your eyes are massive? Like,
but now he wears them for the aesthetic.
Like, yes, I'm really blind. Shock. So lots of people are.
I've put your glasses on before, and I tell you what, you can't see. I can't see.
It's the strongest prescription.
Yeah, it's mad.
So my granddad, who passed away a couple of years ago, when he was starting to go downhill, I managed to get foundation, put him in a box. So I'd sent an email in saying like he was dying and stuff, and he didn't have too long left, but he wasn't like really bad at that point. And we were playing Sheffield United, and we were right next to the away fans, He watched the warm up, loved it. He was well up for it, and then he slept for all of the entire game. He was asleep for the entire game. Watched a warm up, and that was too much for him. And then, actually, tell a lie, Tammy Abraham scored a penalty, and then because everyone in the room went a bit mad, he woke up, started clapping, and then went back to sleep. But he didn't know why they were clapping. That was his last game. Rest in peace, Colin.
Can you imagine if nowadays, if he like Chris Eck would have charged him an upgrade for?
I know. Yeah.
For
having a sleep.
Fancy a pillow, duvet.
Yeah, 100%. There's another 500 quid.
I'll tell you what. When you said then, I was hardly listening, to be honest, Ty, because you said the foundation put him in a box. And in my head, I was thinking,
no, not a coffin.
Put him in a coffin.
Something like that.
What? The foundation put him in a box?
No, they had put a tweet out basically saying, if I can't remember what it was, but it was, they were looking for people who were going through some things, and I thought I'll send an email, and they replied. So it was nice. It was nice.
Foundation always good to be fair.
That's the only time I've been to a game with my granddad, because the only person in my family who supports Villa is my granddad and my mum. Everyone else is elsewhere. Most of the braces are blue noses.
Are they?
My brother's an Arsenal fan. My uncle, who I'm close with, is United. And my dad's Blues.
I didn't even know you had a brother.
Did you not?
Nah.
Yeah, I've got a sister.
I had a brother. I had a sister because I bumped into you when you were with your sister not that long ago.
Yeah, I've always found it weird when it's like the direct family is different. I've got Albion fans in my family, but they're like cousins or uncles or whatever. But like my dad, granddad, like the whole family's always been just Villa. So to have like a brother or sister that's Blues or something just is so weird to me.
Similar vein, not quite the same. Like my stepson's just started at Wolves. So he's had like a couple of sessions then, as I've been at Wolves twice last week.
That's it, you weren't mentioned.
No, but right,
baby.
he's eight in goal. And I'm watching the training session and thinking, this is like unbelievable.
You waiting for him to say Villa is a big club, mate.
The level of the 8-year-olds is just ridiculous. And like they're teaching him in goal like about the biomechanics of the goalkeeper. And you've got to have your hands in a certain place. And you've got to spring in a certain way because that's how they do it in the first team. And it all filters down. Like, it's actually like I can't believe the standard of the coaching like for 8-year-olds. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right then. Today's episode is titled around like men's mental health. I've got no kind of expectations for this conversation. We can kind of take it down whatever alley we want to. Obviously it's Movember, and none of us are partaking in it.
I've done it before and I just like Borat. I can't do it
remember
again.
That, yes. And the slick back hair as well.
Yeah, I honestly can't do it again.
Have you got a picture?
It's probably there. So do you remember we went down to Villa Park to do some filming for Villa? And they did it in November. This is when we first started Villa View. So I had a moustache and I filmed this content about my journey of like supporting Villa. But then it didn't go out for like 2 months. So like in January they released this thing of me talking about why I support Villa and my favourite Villa manager. I was like an idiot who just got a moustache for like no reason.
I'll be honest, Dan, my favourite thing in the world is when me and you were together and someone asks you your heritage and you say Italian. I always say no, he's not. He's from Erdington.
I could literally be anything, couldn't I? I literally think I could be anything: Turkish, Greek, Italian, Asian.
Indian, didn't they, recently?
Yeah, Indian. Yeah, I could literally qualify as anything.
Obviously, it's Movember, which is raising awareness for men's mental health, prostate cancer, all various different things. I'm going to put a list of like resources for people in the comments on podcasts and YouTube for support for suicide hotlines, for Samaritans, for Movember, all different charities as well. So
Andy's Man Club is that one.
Exactly, that's one as well. Anything like that we speak about will all be down below if you want to go and check out more information. As I say, I've got no expectation for where I want this to go. It can be career stuff, it can be football related, obviously, Villa related, personal stuff if that's what you want to get into. I don't want this to be like, oh, now let's talk about this and let's talk about this. I just want us to have a chat. We are 5 blokes from, how old are you? 23 to
43.
39.
39.
We're all men in our 30s.
All men in that, well, not quite. Different ages, different backgrounds, but blokes sitting around talking football, blokes sitting around talking about mental health and things as well is important and something I think that we should do on the podcast. We do a lot of football stuff, so if this is something that you're not interested in, absolutely fine. Whatever, we're still going to do it anyway. Should we start with something football related?
I straight up hated being a football journalist because of people online.
Did you?
Yeah, straight up.
Is that why you don't do it now?
Yeah.
Really? Is that actually the reason?
Yeah. Well, there is that helps my mental health. Admittedly, not in a cost of living crisis, it doesn't. But honestly, I think like for my first season, like helping Ash out.
Yeah.
You get a transfer wrong because you hear nobody understands how mad transfers are. Any name that's linked is probably linked because someone said something to someone. So every name has a degree of legitimacy if it's come out in the Turkish media or someone's leaned out a car window outside of Sky Sports News and dropped the link. But I think when you say something that you have some information on, there's just so many people willing to do a gotcha. I'll be surprised if there isn't more people who stop doing that for papers.
I think just generally, just putting yourself out there is something that you're opening up to some kind of criticism. I think we started last month's episode where you said something like, I've got to cover up my tattoos for someone in the comments, and I said, do we care about the comments? And we all joked and said no.
But I do, that's the
thing.
thing.
There's no way none of us have seen a comment and thought, I don't like that.
You can't help. It's all good and well saying, it doesn't affect me, but it has to in some way. Like, it's not nice hearing that. I heard a podcast recently, a lad called Fogden, who makes videos like I do, but he's a lot better and goes to
he gets some absolute grief. It's popular to hate him.
Yeah. It's sort of trendy to hate him. He does all the football vlogging, and that's not for everyone, which I understand. We'll probably go into that in a bit, but he was saying, like, he likes the hate because it helps the brand.
That's bad,
which I can understand, but there's got to be a level, hasn't there?
Yeah, like,
it's not healthy.
Those negative reactions, that's why people do certain things. It's like when people leave weird stuff in TikToks to get the comments. It's like that. You get the negative attention, you get more comments.
Like you intentionally say something wrong to get people to point it out.
You get more comments, and that boosts you, but like, you got to look after yourself because there's one day when it's going to get too much.
I genuinely, it doesn't bother me, like on social media. Actually.
You argue with people on social media more than I've ever seen.
I'll reply because I just think usually you can quote tweet them and reply and make them look stupid.
Is that on football things though?
Yeah, mainly. I think, look, I've only ever had in person nice things. Villa fans come up to me all the time and speak to me and say nice things to me and say they love the podcast and you've done really well and stuff like that. And it's really nice. Like I find it like really nice that people want to come and speak to me. Like I stop and talk to anyone at the Villa, like, and have conversations with people because I know that those people have like helped me get to like doing some of the work that I've done. So I'm like grateful for it, and I'll always stop and have a chat with like any Villa fan wherever I am. I've like found the thing that annoyed me more. I don't mind it when people come and have a go at me. Like it doesn't bother me. I got more annoyed when there was that guy who was having a go at you, and I bit on that and started having a go at him because.
Is that the one who said that my parents pay for me to go to?
Yeah, it was like personal. It was personal. It was false.
Yeah,
and it's just pure like envy and jealousy.
So that guy, that was the third time that I had words with him. The first and second time he had give Max a grilling for no reason and it was personal.
He came from me me talking about ticket prices for that Chelsea replay game. I can't remember. I was saying like, something about FA Cup replay tickets. That's all it was, about tickets.
Too hard.
Fair. I think they're actually okay. I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember ins and outs, but I was just saying something about ticket prices. And you made it personal and the fact, it doesn't matter to you because your mum and dad pay for it.
But it was like tagging your mum on Twitter and stuff. And
my mum replied, which wasn't great.
because she'll protect her son. Like if my mum had Twitter, she'd do the same. My mum's protective over me, and I'm 34 years old. Do you know what I mean? Your mum you'll always be your baby to your mum, no matter how old you get. But things like that, like Twitter in itself. Like I remember when Villa Spaces was flying with the Grealish stuff, and. You know, it should have been a time where I was happy with what was going on in terms of, you know, we had got to #1 trending, like while Love Island was on, which in itself, like Fiat 500 Twitter is a big part of Twitter. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people who watch Love Island and talk about Love Island. So to be #1 trending in Villa-related topic, like got 5,000 people like latching on to everything that we're saying about the Grealish saga because everyone's like, you know, in meltdown. And that should have been a time for me where I was really happy with what I was doing, but all it would take was for me to look through the hashtag and see there might be one negative comment about over 1,000 good ones, because at that time that's how big it was. There was like 1,000 people using the hashtag, and all it would take was me to read one wrong thing, and any good, no matter what good someone said to me, I am clinging on to the one thing that someone said that, and it would kill me.
It's mad, don't it?
I'm getting ready to go live, and I should be excited because I know it's going to be booming. Like, got loads of people asking to come on and talk on there, and I didn't have any happiness towards it. I hated doing it, thinking, what's someone going to say tonight that's going to hurt my feelings?
But it's mad when it's literally like 1 in 1,000.
Yeah.
Like you should go, there's 999 that are like
Yeah.
amazing, saying Ty's great, this, that and the other. But you see one that says, I always dislike the ones, and we've made a joke about it on the podcast before. There's a picture over there that I'm looking at for those that are listening. Matt did it for a stupid Christmas present when you were still with us, of like bad reviews we'd had, and it's like, oh, you with a big nose is boring and all that kind of things like that.
That could be any of us today.
Exactly. Like when it's a personal thing, like, oh, you've got a big head or a big nose, whatever, I don't really mind.
That's funny,
The
actually.
things where it's like,
Laugh
I do think some of that is funny, yeah, when it's meant in a funny way. But some of the things when you see, like, especially from an audio perspective, it's like, oh, the way you said this was weird, or your mouth made a weird noise or something.
Yeah.
And then I think, oh, I now have to speak for like hours a week. And I'm thinking, well, what if I'm making that noise? What if I'm doing it now? I don't even know. So then because I'm editing it back, I think, oh, I heard a weird noise then. What if it was that? Now I'm going to go through and take out every little pop and click that my mouth makes.
Yeah.
And that when you start working with other people, everyone does it. But because one person said, oh, you did it on this word, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's it now. I can never say that word again because I might say it weird. And that's just, I shouldn't be bothered about that. And I'm not now, but this is the process that you go through, I think.
I think I'm the opposite to you. Like, I'm not encouraging it. I don't want loads of people to come and give me abuse, but I do genuinely take it as a compliment, especially with, like, if I'm doing stuff for Sky or someone else, like, the level changes, then, like, you'll get more personal stuff. If I'm clipped up on Twitter from something I've said on Sky Sports News, Manchester United fans from all over the world, if I've said something about them, they'll have stuff to say about me. But I genuinely take it as a compliment that, like, if my opinion on football has bothered you that much, then I must be doing something right. I've only ever really had 2 things in all the years that have bothered me, and you'll have known about those 2 things because they were, Villa View related when we were doing it. So there's obviously that zebra weirdo where we had to get the police involved because he was threatening to, like, turn up at fan cams and stuff, and like, and he did turn up and the police were there, but where he was, like, sending me DMs like non-stop. I'd block him and then he'd create a new account and he'd be sending me DMs, and then he'd be paying, like, other people to message me and say stop being nasty to him, blah blah blah, and I wasn't doing it, wasn't doing anything. Like, that was weird. Do you remember those young lads that started?
Is this a Spider-Man?
Yeah, it sounds stupid, doesn't it? 'Cause it's like the Spidey Crew or something
Spidey
like
Crew,
that. So these lads started, like, basically it was when we were doing the Villa View. It started off as like an innocent thing, didn't it? Where they, like, put a picture up saying that we'd, like, endorsed their YouTube channel or something. There was, like, a picture of us that we'd become part of this, and, like, we hadn't, and it was a bit weird, and we were like, don't do that. But then they started, like, I was getting, like, messages and tweets stuff, like, that were just weird. Like, my wife at the time, like, someone sent me a tweet threatening to he was going to rape my wife, basically, at the time. So that was when I was like, right, that's just not on. Like, I can accept, like, people disagreeing with my football opinion or saying I don't know anything about football or Villa.
Big nose.
Yeah, big nose, stuff like that. Borat with your moustache. But then, like,
Anymore?
then people, like, but that was like when I thought that's not on, that's not right.
It's horrific.
But you've got to remember with these people, the people that are giving you stick, you've got to, like, realise the type of person that they are. And this kid, mate, he was a kid. He had some information in his bio. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I managed to track down who he was. And all I did was I just found his dad's Facebook, and I got in touch with his dad. I messaged him saying, is there any chance I could just give you a call to just talk to you about your son? And we had a conversation on the phone, and his dad was, like, gutted. I sent him through some of the stuff that this kid had been saying to me, and the dad was, like, genuinely, like, nearly crying down the phone saying, I can't believe this, I'm so sorry, like, he comes from a good family, like, his mum and sister would be horrified by this if they saw it. I'm so sorry that he did that. I'll be dealing with him, like, don't worry about that, this will never happen again. And he made the lad call me and ring me up. It was like some 14-15-year-old lad, and he rang me up on the phone, like, crying his eyes out, saying, I'm really sorry, I don't know why I did it, I just wanted to get a reaction off you, it was silly, I'm so sorry. You gotta realise that half the time the people that are giving you abuse, just kids trying to get a reaction out of you. So that's why I think, because I had that experience, I feel like it doesn't bother me, because I know kind of, like, the type of person that it'll be that's doing it. No one ever says anything to your face. It's never happened to me. I don't ever.
One guy that tried to turn up, like, that could have been much more serious than it.
Yeah, but
it was
no
bad,
one ever says anything. Oh, you had you might not want to talk about it. When those Blues fans mobbed you on the train.
I was thinking about it. Yeah, I was thinking about this. Like, that was when I was sat in New Street, and Firstly, it's weird they all recognise me. Like every single one of them.
You're young at the time, though, as well.
Oh, this
You're
was
young
like
now.
5 years ago, so I was just turned 18.
I couldn't tell you a single blues.
Well, that's the thing.
Like,
I
if
mean,
you had me in a lineup, I wouldn't be able to say, oh yeah, that's the guy that does the videos.
Yeah.
must be doing something right. But they all saw me and they all had their phones out immediately, like filming me. And I was just sat there.
Like 10 of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's loads of them, like 10, 15 of them, because I think they'd just been a game on. And they were just filming me. And like you see it all over Twitter and stuff, and you know, oh, you should have done this, you should have done this to him, you should have done this. To be fair, most of them were sound. Like we were playing Norwich the next day, and they were saying, "Oh, what do you think's going to happen? What's the score going to be? Whatever." So they were actually okay. But then it's just when it gets taken out of context on social. And on the train back, once I got on the train, they came to me and threw a scarf on me, and they tried to play it off as if they'd made me because I was all scared. It's like, come on, man. The photo's all blurry. Like you've just thrown it on me. I took it straight off.
Yeah.
And it's just like. It is just because they want that reaction, and they take it all on social and just blow it up. You should have done this, you should have done that. You're never going to do that. Like we went out for Owen's birthday last year, and there's a Blues fan tweeting about us sat in the same pub garden. It's like he's calling us some horrific names on Twitter, and I can see him over there. It's like, what are you doing?
Between real life, like those Blues fans who've been quite light-hearted, chucking the scarf on you, and then when it gets to Twitter, that's when people are saying all manner of things. Even Villa fans, and I think sometimes the worst reactions from Villa fans, like, oh, I'd never let that happen. It's like, would you? You'd have sat there and took it.
What did you want me to do? Get up and fight 15 of them?
I don't, like I say, it doesn't affect me, but when Villa lose, I think I definitely tweet less. Maybe that's like...
Yeah.
I don't think I'm doing that on purpose, but maybe there's something in me that... Because I'll always try and be quite positive. I'll always get someone... Mind you, even if sometimes if I'm negative about stuff, it works the other way, and people tell me I'm too negative. Like, whatever I do, I'll get someone giving me abuse for something every day, and it genuinely doesn't bother me. But I do. After the Liverpool game, I definitely tweeted less than I normally.
You don't want to be in the firing line, do you? Basically,
yeah.
I don't bother on Twitter. I think I don't mind speaking my mind. I think I'm quite balanced anyway, but I don't mind speaking my mind on YouTube. I think different platforms are different. Like I think Twitter's just the worst.
Yeah, I
think YouTube, I don't mind saying what I think, and I'm quite balanced anyway. Like I'm not going to go out and say he should be sacked unless it was Gerrard. He shouldn't be sacked. He should never play for Villa never again. Whatever. I'll never say that anyway. But I wouldn't be scared to. Unlike. Well, I'm not scared on Twitter, but I just can't be bothered on Twitter. I don't tweet anything anymore unless I'm promoting a video or Luke or something like that. There's just no need because people are just stupid. And you're right, they just want a reaction. It's not like they're genuinely going to do anything like that. They just want a reaction, and it's just sad.
Just to move it away from like personal comments for a sec, even just like differing football opinions that I massively don't agree with. But I was just getting it through on my phone after, and I was just like, I don't really need to sit and read any of these, but I don't agree with that person saying Emery needs to go, so why am I even reading it? So I deleted the YouTube studio thing off my phone where all the comments come through, and Twitter and everything. And like for like one day that was, and it's like, I actually thought to myself, apart from WhatsApp, I don't know what am I going to do with my phone? Because I just found myself just scrolling Twitter. I don't want to get like too deep about it, but like I feel like we're not as people, we're not built for this like level of like being able to link with everybody in the entire world. Like it's a great thing for what we do as a job to be able to stop post stuff out and anyone can watch it anywhere. Amazing. But like we are, like our brains aren't wired to just be so open to everybody constantly all the time. Like if we come here today and speak to each other and then go home to our respective families, we speak to like 10 people in the day, and that's like what we're wired for. To have like thousands of people like in your phone all the time, it's just too much, I think, to like deal with.
So we're used to maybe having these 10 pieces of feedback from family members or our circle that we act on, but when it's amplified by thousands and you get 20 negative comments and 100 good ones, the 100 ones don't affect your behaviour because it just means carry on doing what you're doing, so you're not thinking about that.
They might as well not be there, really.
The negative ones are like you actually have to process, because it could mean in a different setting stop doing something bad, but usually it's just so you have to go for it, get annoyed about it, and then repeat that cycle.
So like mental health side, I'll be open about it. Like I struggled with my mental health since year 8. So like I would have been like 12, 13, around that age. Like, I've worried about everything every day. Not so much now, like I'm in a good place now, but there hasn't been a day up until I was probably about 30 where if something wasn't wrong, something wasn't right. If there wasn't a burden, then if I was happy about something good happened in life, it was always quickly replaced with, well, what if this, what if that, and negative thought. So I had wired my brain to worry about absolutely everything. I'd always find something to worry about. I would look for something to worry about. My brain would always look for something to worry about, and that took its toll on me, and I really had to sort myself out, because I did that for like nearly 20 years of my life, man. Like, and that's over half of my life where I've spent. You would never know it. You could sit in a room, you're talking to me, and I could be smiling, hyper and whatnot, and in my head, I ain't what you see in front of you ain't what's going on in my head. Like, it's completely, I don't want to say fake, because I'm not a fake person, but how I'm acting versus what's going on in my,
That's
absolutely.
very common, isn't it? Like?
Yeah, I think, but the good thing with you is, I think, is that you'll, now, I don't know whether you used to do this, probably didn't, but now, like, you'll just say if you're feeling shit.
Yeah.
You'll always say, if I'm speaking to you, you'll always say, like, I'm having a shit day, my mind won't switch off, or
Yeah.
You're very open in setting up, when we're setting up this as well, about how you react to the certain topics.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, every single one here, like me and Dan are very close outside of social media and football and whatever, and I think mine and Dan's friendship became so close was because we were both going through long-term relationship breakups at a similar time, where they were coming to an end. You know, we've known each other a long time, but obviously, you know, we both pretty much went through a breakup at the same time, and you know, we both went from having everything in life to nothing. We've picked each other up out of the trenches over the years. We really have, and I think everybody in this room at some point I've been vulnerable with. You know, you probably, Dan, Rollo, you probably the most recently, when I spoke to you about the comments from the first episode, and then that guy from the last episode who was trying to get a bite on something when I had spoke. So just for context, in the last episode I spoke that I worry about everything, and then someone in the comments went out of their way to make me think that I had something to worry about, and that played on my mind for a day, and then after a day I didn't care anymore. But for that day, like, I was vulnerable about it and spoke to Rollo about it.
To interrupt, that person will have just commented to go, I was kind of one type, I'll say, like, he's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
like,
I think it was. I genuinely don't think there was a bad intention.
No,
behind
no,
it.
no,
I
it
think they were just joking after what you'd said.
100%. But obviously they don't know me to
No,
that
no.
level where, and it's difficult for me because I went from speaking on social media a lot about mental health to not at all. I do not talk about mental health at all. I don't even put supportive tweets out anymore, and that's not because I've stopped caring. I've just stopped caring about social media. Like, I've tweeted a couple of mates like a few times maybe in the last 2 weeks, but I haven't posted an actual tweet to something this month. Like, I have no interest. I haven't been on there. I don't even go on there to look at lineups for squad announcements. Nothing. I've got no interest, because where Villa are at is we've had such a good season last season, and I said this to Tails when I seen him when he was out for his birthday. I said, my worry is because we've had such a good season last season, how's it going to be if that season isn't replicated or better? Things will turn. And it has. And the second from us losing our first game, from the second that happened, I watched things started to turn, and I made a conscious decision that I can't be a part of that anymore.
Yes,
I can't spend my time and energy arguing with people who I don't know, I won't know, to try and change their mind on something that I'm positive about.
Well, this is also the other thing. How many times have any of us written a tweet to somebody arguing back about why so-and-so should have been in the team or shouldn't have been in the team, whatever? And I'm writing it, I'm going, just delete it.
What am I doing?
What am I doing? I don't know who this person is. They obviously, I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. People watching the podcast all the time, like, I'm very appreciative, and this is my job, and I will try and reply to people and engage with them. I don't want to sit out next video have no comments because I'm saying, oh yeah, I don't want to argue and stuff. But like, we don't know them, but they think they know us because we speak for long periods of time about personal stuff sometimes, or about Villa. And by and large, people are very friendly, and that's great. But when someone disagrees with you, I think, okay, well, that person is the negative one, so I'm going to try and fix it, basically. I'm going to try and put it right, try and de-escalate the situation. I'm going to try and persuade them that this is why I said what I said or something. But I don't know that person. I'm sat there, like, putting my son to bed or doing a bath time or sorting some tea out or whatever, and I've got my phone, I go, I'll just reply back to that guy. why though? Why am I doing it? Half an hour later, I pick up my phone, I always replied, okay, I'll have to go back to it.
Yeah.
So I forget what I'm doing in real life for a minute. I've got to deal with this one comment, and it's just, I like you, obviously it's part of my job, so I have to do it. But if I didn't, I'd just put social media to one side and like, here's a new video, here's the link, I'll see you in a few days, when I'll just do the same again. So I don't want to just scroll and be there kind of like sucked away from actual things to focus on what one person might have said.
I think you can disagree with people, of course.
Yeah,
like, it'd be
I've got no
boring
problem with
if
that at all.
everyone had the same opinion. Like, we're all level-headed blokes about the Villa, but we won't agree on everything. Like, we've got a group chat and we'll have the odd disagreement, but I think it's the way people go about it. Like, you can have constructive conversations with people, of course you can. Like, I don't want everyone to think Matty Cash can star or whatever. Like, nobody needs to agree on everything. It's the way you go about it. Like, for example, we were in Bruges last week and I met a bloke called Gary at a bar, and he was the loveliest bloke ever, and we were having a chat about how tickets are distributed and how they should be distributed for European games and away games, and we didn't agree on that, and that's fine, but we just had a normal conversation. We didn't, because we're in person, no one's going to say, oh, you're wrong, and by the way, you've got a big forehead, or your glasses look stupid, or anything like that. Just have a normal conversation with people, and people cannot do that on Twitter because it's point scoring.
The worst bit of that is that they don't know what's going on in your general life. People get personal with you and have a go at you about stuff. Like, I think you've never got any idea like what's happening in someone's life. And I say it doesn't bother me, and it genuinely doesn't. But there's other people that it might bother, and like, people say about being kind all the time and things like that. But very few people actually like practice what they preach there, because you don't know what's going on in someone's life. Even sometimes as mates, like, you don't really know the ins and outs of everything that's going on in someone's life. Like, Ty's already kind of referenced it. I had like a turbulent like 18 months to 2 years where nothing in my life felt secure. Everything was all over the place, and deep down I was proper struggling. And I would never have really spoke to many of you about that or mentioned it all the time, but every day felt like quite painful generally in 2023 up until probably the summer. And I remember, like, I just felt like I lived on my own. I was just spending every day on my own with Turbo the dog. Like, literally just every night, every weekend, all I do is sit at home and watch football.
And if you think that's bad, Dan invited me around for a barbecue once. He hadn't set the barbecue up, so I had to set it up for him. And at that point, he'd been one of my best mates for like 5 years at this point. I didn't know he didn't eat meat. So he invited me around for a barbecue that I had to set on myself, and then B, eat plant-based sausages and burgers, man.
I know, we're lovely.
I'm surprised he doesn't know, because he normally doesn't stop mentioning it.
Yeah. But like,
Sorry to interrupt,
anyway, away from Ty and the barbecue. But like, when the football would finish, I'd like basically just be spending every Saturday night like on my own. I was struggling. When I look back now, like, I'm fine now. When I look back now, I genuinely at that point I was really struggling, was really low. And like, I say we're mates, not like best mates, but I say we're good mates. Probably don't see each other as much as we would like, unless it revolves around Villa. But I remember like there was a point where I was really like on the floor, and you just texted me to say if I wanted to come and watch the Champions League final with you. And like, even just having that one Saturday where I wasn't sat, because I would have just sat at home and watched it on my own. But I think sometimes as mates you don't realise like how important you can be to each other, because you just sending me that text to come and watch the football, I came out and it got me out of the house, and when I got home I didn't feel quite as low, and then my Sunday wasn't as bad because Saturday night I'd been out with you and I felt better. And I just remember around that time you did a couple of things and asked me to do a couple of things, and we did a few things together that just genuinely at that point when I was struggling like made me feel better. So I think as lads, like, because you don't tell each other everything, sometimes you don't actually realise like the stuff that you can do to help each other.
Chatting is great and talking is great, but it doesn't have to be as regimented as that, and you don't have to sit down and have a face-to-face conversation, because you know it helps, but it's not easy. So like you said, just
we wouldn't have spoke about anything, would we? I wouldn't have said I'm having a bit of time at the moment. We just went and watched the football and talked about the football,
just getting out.
But to me that really helped at that point.
You
So
feel
it can
that
be like
glow
that.
after, don't you?
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah.
A bit of a weight off your shoulders.
I just felt better because it was just one weekend where I hadn't just spent the whole weekend sat on my own. In some ways, me sitting on my own every weekend was my own fault, because I did kind of take myself away from people, and I was not happy and I was moping. So it felt like an effort to go out. I didn't want to go out really.
And you think, well, I'm not good company, so I'm not going to go with them.
I'd start worrying about like stupid things that were like never going to happen at this.
Dan, I've never worried about something that was needed to be worried about. Not once, and not once in my life. I don't think I've ever worried about something that ever actually turned out to, you know. And I think that's that your brain. You always think, if you get into a habit of a worst case scenario mindset of being negative, which you probably wouldn't expect from me, because in times of when Villa were crap, I would always try and find a positive spin, and that was kind of my thing. I would always try and find the positivity, and people used to latch onto that, and I think that's why I was so relatable with people, because I'd always try and find a positive. But in everyday life, that wasn't what my mind was like. I'd try and find a positive in everything with football to help other people, but I wouldn't try and find anything positive to help myself.
Yeah, I get that.
It's interesting, Dan, what you said then about, like, obviously you're mates with people, but you might not. You might say, oh yeah, things aren't great at the moment or whatever, but not go into the full detail of it. And I'm not going to do it now because it's not my thing either. But I remember messaging you before the wedding.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
About my now wife, that she struggles with different bits and pieces that I'm not going to go into, because, like I say, that's not my thing to share. But being together, her problems are my problems now. So what is it? A problem shared is a problem halved or whatever. That famous saying. And I remember messaging about the wedding. I can't even remember what it was, but it was like a kind of like,
I think you wanted me not to talk about something in the speech, like potentially, or not make a joke about something, because you thought...
you don't know anything about it, but just in case, probably best
spark some... If you say this, it might spark... That's
not, I've got this bad problem I need to deal with it. It's more of a her thing, that because it's hers, because it's mine. If I don't say anything, just in case, and again, it's like you, it's probably worrying about nothing.
Yeah.
But if this comes up, let's quash that quickly, because this could happen and this could happen, and you kind of have to deal with these problems.
I worry about that as well. I'm getting married next year. My 3 best men are absolutely savage. I've got 3 best men, and they're all absolutely savage, and all of them could individually not ruin my life as in like go to jail, but they'd say things in a room of, I don't really want my mum's ears to hear, like
the same with this though. I didn't think there was going to be anything particularly bad in your best men's speech anyway. Obviously it was both of you, but I'd thought just in case, so just tell them.
Yeah,
it obviously was playing on your mind.
COVID didn't help for me. Me and you went out loads, Dan, but I would never drink. Because when I went from being on my own for so long during COVID, it killed a huge social part of who I am, because I spent so much time on my own. So, like, I've never, in my 20s, and when I worked in bars and stuff when I was younger, I used to drink a lot in that scene, and I've seen a lot of people do horrible things when they're drunk, so that's pretty much the reason why I don't drink. Like, I do say categorically I don't drink, but there are instances of where I'll have a few Guinnesses or whatever, and, whatnot. But anytime I'd go out with Dan, I would 1,000,000% not have one. I'd drive on purpose, and I felt a bit sorry for Dan, because Dan was getting to a wave where I wasn't getting to because I was sober. But I did it purely for the fact of, I know at some point this is going to get too much for me and I need to get out of here the second that happens. The second I'm overwhelmed by the amount of people and the music, I've got to leave. Like, I have to leave, and that's why I drive everywhere and I don't drink, because I never want to be in a scenario of where I feel myself start panicking and have to leave, then have to wait for a taxi. What's my taxi driver going to be like? Those types of things. If I don't drink, I can get straight in my car and go exactly where I need to be to make me feel safe. And that's COVID definitely killed a part of me, and it was a good part of me. Like, I'm not anti-social now. It's just I now am at a point in my life where being at home is absolutely all I want to do every day. Like, don't get it wrong, I still do things, I still go out, me and my son do things together and whatnot, and I'm not a hermit, but being at home for me is absolutely my favourite thing to do in the world. I just want to be at home, I just want to be with the people I love, and I just want to be left alone. Like, that's the place I'm at, and COVID has contributed to part of that, because it's killed a social element to me frequently seeing people who I care about and whatnot, and now I'd probably just send them a WhatsApp to check in as opposed to meet up with them. And it's just little things like that where life's changed. And like, I know that's not great, I know it's not good really being a hermit and probably not seeing people I care about as much as I should, but that's all I want to do with my time. I would rather sit and Xbox with the lads for a few hours and play some games together than go out and see them. That's just where I'm at in life.
I think like you said something just whilst we were doing this that's kind of stuck in my head since like obviously women have mental health issues. Well, I'm not saying that, but I do think it is genuinely like tough being a bloke at times in certain ways. Just from what you said, like, I'm really happy now. Like really happy. My personal life's really good. Like, well, I'll probably come on to work. But work's, I do some stuff that I could only ever have dreamed doing. But genuinely, if I think about it, I can't like remember a time where I wasn't worried about something. Like, I do feel like there's always like I feel like there's some kind of pressure in me, and I'm worried about something. Like a prime example is like the media work is very up and down. Like some months you'll think you're flying, other months it'll be really quiet. But you follow all your mates that work in the industry on social media, and you see what they're doing every day. Yeah. So the one thing I would say I struggle with most in terms of mental health is like that kind of imposter syndrome, because I see people that I work with, like in January, people that I'll be working with at Sky on the transfer stuff. I see them all through the year, and it just looks like they're flying with work all year, and I want them to do well. I genuinely want them to do well, and like they're all people that I love and care about. It's brilliant to see them all doing well in their careers. But sometimes when you're not having that moment, like I start to think, why is that not happening to me? Like, why am I struggling at the moment? Why is the work not coming my way? Why is this falling by the wayside, or this being cancelled? Because ultimately you tend to lose more work than you gain. I'm actually always worried about that. That actually never goes anywhere. I can be really happy about all the other stuff, which I am. Yeah. But I know that I've got that one thing, which is career, and it's probably always been the bit that I've struggled with. There's like that one thing that's always in my head.
You have 100%.
Never goes.
You have 100%. I can't even count how many times on my hands and feet, how many times you've nearly thrown the towel in, of where you're so close to getting where you want to be.
Because it's like snakes and ladders, literally.
Yeah, but it's at the same time, it's a good thing that you put that pressure on yourself, because it helps you perform, it helps you do better. You don't give up. You always come back and fight harder. And I'm not saying it's good to worry about things, it's not, but you put so much pressure on yourself to do well that you're never satisfied with where you are. Like, there's been times where me and you have spoken and you've been like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I'm struggling with it and whatnot. And if I had said to you in 3 years' time, you're going to be where you are now.
Yeah, someone said that to me the other day.
But even now, you're doing all the things that you want to do. You've still got higher aspirations for yourself to do better, and that isn't a bad thing, Dan. But because you put pressure on yourself to be the best that you can be and provide for your family, because ultimately that's what you want to do. We've all got bills to pay. Do you know what I mean? We've all got people who we care about, who we want to provide for, and I think it's a good thing in a way that you are so hard on yourself to do well that you always want the best for yourself. Yeah.
When I'm in the moment, so let's say like when I'm doing the Sky stuff, all I'm thinking about when I'm doing it is, well, at the end of January you aren't doing this anymore, so what are you going to do in February? So I'm never actually enjoying the moment, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's like a lad thing in general.
I think if you spoke to other people who you work with on the type who are in the same industry, they'd go, Dan, I promise you, at least half of them would go, Dan, very good point. And half of them live in London, where the cost of their bills are probably triple yours.
Yeah, it's definitely a freelance thing rather than just a bloke thing. But whether women handle it differently, I don't know. Whether they would be more open about it maybe than men, because men generally just don't speak about stuff that is bothering them, I suppose.
Because I'm quite open as a bloke generally, I think, and you probably all would say that. Yeah. I've said loads of stuff to you over the years. I've said loads of stuff to you about literally everything and anything, but still think there is bits I don't talk about still. So imagine if you're someone a bloke who doesn't speak about stuff, like that must like eat you up inside.
I think just about like health stuff generally, and this isn't just mental stuff, this is like physical health as well. Whether my wife is different to other women, I don't know, but she's just like, I've got this slight problem in my ear, better go to the doctors then and get it checked out.
Men don't
she
do that.
could say to me, like,
health anxiety.
Your head's falling off, and I'll go, I'll be all right, I'll sort it next week. I don't want to waste a doctor's time with that, because it'll go away. So from a mental perspective as well, like if she's got a problem with something, go and get it sorted, try and get some medication or therapy or whatever it is. Whereas I'll be like, well, it's not that, it doesn't matter that much. Like I'll process it myself, I'll deal with it, and we'll come back to it another time. And generally, I've been lucky enough, touch wood, to not have any kind of like serious problems. If there's a better way I'm very wary about, by the way, throughout this, of like if we say anything, we're not saying it in a bad way. Like,
Yeah.
it's a serious problem. I'm not like having a go at someone who has had a serious problem. I mean, I've never been like diagnosed with anything, is what I'm trying to say. I've been lucky for that. On the freelance stuff, I was obviously freelance before I started working here. And I was doing, some of you will know about this, obviously you will know more so than anyone, about the work that I'd done with Villa, the freelance stuff. So I'd been doing freelance video stuff for like 3 years probably, on and off. And like you, it'd be times where you have 3 or 4 different clients and you get an invoice coming through and you go, oh, that's a good wage, like I'm happy with that. And then you go 3 months and you don't do anything, you don't do any work at all, and that's horrible because you think, well, this is, when's the next job coming from? And I was very lucky at that time because I was living with my mum and dad. Didn't have a wife, didn't have a son, no real responsibilities, no real bills. So if I only earn, I don't know, 750 quid, I'm still going to be okay. Like, I'm not going to get evicted or anything. I'm not going to be in trouble. If I earn 3 grand, amazing. Let's buy a PlayStation. But there was times when I got towards various different people that I've been working with, where one dries up, or one, you do a project and it finishes, or whatever, and you get to a stage where, okay, well, that income stream's gone now. Like, I'm not going to work for them because I've done it, I've finished it. And then the one I was doing with Villa, massively long story short, I'd had a job interview, didn't get it, and they offered me some freelance work to do Villa lady stuff, it was at the time, Villa women now, some camera stuff once a week, once every couple of weeks, and it was tiny money, really, for the level I am at now. I was just starting out, really, so I wasn't asking for loads. Villa were not paying very well at all for the size of business they are. It was ridiculous, really. And that work was starting to dry up as well. They weren't interested in covering the Villa women at the time. And I'd done a couple of first team bits, but that was like, they do like these content days where they go and they do all the GIFs and it's like you do maybe once or twice a year. And I was doing them. And it got to a stage where like, they just weren't offering me any work anymore, Villa. They just stopped asking me to stuff, stopped inviting me to stuff. And I felt like my only way into this industry was a job at Villa. Like, if I can't even get a job at Villa, I ain't going to get a video job anywhere else, because I've worked with them for like the last 18 months. So if a job opening comes up at Villa, I should be alright for it, because I'm kind of working with them anyway. Like, I know the team, like I know how to use all their equipment, this will be fine. And then either a job came up and I didn't get it, or the work dried up. I can't remember what order it came, but I went in for a meeting and they basically said, well, we can't use you anymore for various reasons that I'm not going to go into, but some of it was probably my fault as well.
Yeah, but some of it was like personal. I've had exactly the same, where like I can't really go into detail about it, but people at that club have stitched me up over the years.
Yeah, some of it was stuff that I probably shouldn't have done, but I was 21, 22, which is not an excuse, but I probably wouldn't do those things now, let's put it that way. But some of it absolutely I felt was unfair as well. And I came out of that meeting afterwards and I remember ringing you and being like, Villa aren't working with me anymore, and I haven't got X company anymore either, and that project was finished as well. So like, I've got, like, if you're telling me what the next 6 months look like, I've got nothing lined up. Like, I've got no income, I've got no like way to get a full-time job to prove I can do it, because everything that I've got is gone. So I was like, I might have to get a proper job now for a bit and go and work in an office or a supermarket or something, because I need to move out at some point. I can't just do nothing. Like, I'm at an age where that's just not possible. And then that whole thing with the Tyron Mings opportunity came about, and I got offered a job here from Matt Kendrick like a month later, and all of a sudden it was like from one end of the spectrum to the other, like everything was terrible. Oh, now I've got a full-time job. That actually worked out and fell into my lap very easily. But at that time, that was like a big kick in the like, everything I've been working to for like the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years can just go like that, because somebody just says, we don't want to work with you anymore.
Yeah, I had that with a company I can't name. You know, we were trying to break in, I think, at the time, and you helped me do a video edit, because I had no idea of how to edit a video. So I smashed something together up in a pub, sent it to them. I had interviews whilst they were like phoning me up for phone interviews when I was at my day job, my admin job, where I couldn't take the time away to go on a phone call. So I had to pretend to go to the toilet, run outside and take a phone call and have a phone interview, do it again. Then there was some back and forth about the money, because it was in London and I wanted to stay in Birmingham and commute. I remember I was in the car, because I was just about to go into home base. So I was in the home base car park in Sutton, off by the Beggar's Bush. I was in the car and there was some back and forth, and they sent me an email. I said, right, I'm going to hand in my notice now, blah, 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 blah. I'll take the job. I'll take the risk. Just as I'm about to hand in my notice, they pull the job from me. So, and they said I've still got that email and I still look at it sometimes because that's what really made me try and take a next level, because I was so pissed off with what they'd done. And I bet that guy's done it to a few people because it just seemed like so natural for him. Had a phone call. We've had a intense long back and forth interview process. And just as I'm about to hand in my notice, apparently I've taken too long to hand in my notice. And they pulled the job.
It's not like a small process, is it? Like it's a big thing handing in.
That would have really me up because I was... The only thing that stopped me handing in my notice at the current job was I had the email come through from them revoking it. I was seconds away from doing it.
That's mad.
And that, I think that split something in me, because all of a sudden I was writing 7 things a day about Villa. I didn't want to ever stop. And I'd look at other people and go, I can do better. I'd try. Got to Birmingham Inc., carried on, and then COVID hit. And COVID for me was different. Like, I think it was different from other people. It's like I was locked in. All of a sudden I was jogging, weightlifting, eating well, working, planning around work. I couldn't see anyone for like 6 months at a time in a great place. And it felt like you'd go outside, and it was obviously horrible for people. I was seeing, hearing the ambulance go every day back and forth from Good Hope multiple times. It was terrible for people. But when I'd go outside, there'd be no cars, and I was like hearing the world breathe almost.
You found purpose in COVID.
Yeah, it was really...
I think it goes one or two ways.
Things happened for me in COVID, to be fair, with career, because everything was remote. I don't know
for
what.
this line of work.
But
It changed, yeah.
It felt like the world slowed down. Everyone was taking a breather, and then all of a sudden, the world's spinning too fast. And I think at that point, that's when I realised I had mental health issues, but I think that's when I realised when I'd had that change, I was like, oh fuck, this is not right. How I'm thinking about things and how I'm feeling about things isn't right. I think like I had my first panic attack. I'd always thought I'd had a panic attack before because I went to university and I didn't feel like it, so I went home. It's not a panic attack, that's just me not wanting to show up.
And then you had your first one, you're like,
like people say you've had a panic attack until you've had a panic attack. You do think you're going to die. I called an ambulance.
Without a doubt. I
was like, screw it. I thought, this is my last moment on earth. They come and they strap me up and they say, kind of like, it's a panic attack. But in that moment, you don't think it is. And I went on to medication. I took sertraline. I got, I'd say, quote unquote, better. This year, I had another change. I left the journalism industry to move on to a different industry. And I started having those feelings again. I'd taken myself off the medication. I'd tapered off of it. I started having those feelings again. I went to Download Festival. And I'm watching one of my favourite bands headline. And all of a sudden, you get there's so many things that go through your head. You get... I can't explain it, the depersonalization, feeling like you could see out of the plane going over and feeling the height between the ground and the air and feeling that anxiety as if you were falling, being surrounded by 100,000 people and the loud music. I was like, this is not good. You can feel, if you've ever passed out, you're just so scared that you're going to lose your legs and sink and slide into the mud and fall over. And I had to take myself out and go, right, I'm going to die at Download Festival. I'm gonna this is it for me. And you're not able to arrest that in the moment. And I think I'm better now because I'm taking medication again. But I think that the COVID switch on and switch off was what unlocked it for me. I had a pace of life that was good for me. The normal pace of life wasn't good. Like now, I might turn out that I don't have anxiety. It's like an ADHD or something. But that pace of life, when it was like turn lights on, lights off, I feel like it unlocked something for me. And the pace of life in COVID that isn't normal and isn't acceptable to this world was my pace.
Yeah.
And now I'm finding ways I have to adjust to that. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you reckon everyone, I think everyone has mental health issues. I think everyone can have at some point in their life bad mental health. It just, obviously there's extremes to it, like what you're saying there.
You need like I think everyone
extreme.
has it. You just have that trigger, and for me,
it could just set it off. Something can set it off.
Realising the pace of life of COVID wasn't acceptable anymore. Everything moves so fast again now, and we don't have time to concentrate, reflect. We don't have that many responsibilities, and all of a sudden it's turned back on, and we're moving 120%. I think for people it'd be deaths and breakups.
Yeah,
for me it was football as well. Stopping like from May to August. It's like football isn't my main interest, but it's my life.
It's like it's your routine.
Yeah.
Your routine stopping.
Yeah. So when it stops, I'm like, what the do I do for months?
Yeah.
Do you reckon it's? Oh, sorry, Max. Go on.
Cheers, mate. I think I'd share that in terms of I haven't had any quote unquote mental health issues. But I think just backing up that, football is so important in terms of just having that routine and meeting up with the same people, and especially for us where it is literally every weekend. It's not just your home game, it's away, and planning trips on the coach and seeing everyone on the coach and having a drink with people. It's so important, and COVID was hard because all of that just stops immediately. It's like, what do you do? Like, we feel the same over the international break. Like, what do we do? And that's one weekend. Like, so COVID was so bizarre. And my girlfriend went to university. Like, her first year was like the first year of COVID, so it was proper weird. And she was like with people, obviously in her flat and whatever, whilst they were still locked down, because obviously they were locked down in the same flat together, and they were still drinking and having a great time. And I'd call her occasionally, like late at night when I'd gone to bed, and she was like at a party. It wasn't against the rules because it was her flat. Like, it was okay. That was her bubble. But just hearing that was really hard. And like, I wasn't jealous. Well, I sort of was jealous of her in a way, but just wasn't easy to listen to when she was having a great time and with her brand new mates. And football was my version of that, and that being taken away, where every single day for months and months and months, and obviously people have had it harder, like, this isn't a sob story, but just that would just been taken away, and every day was the same during COVID. Like, yeah, the weather was great, but you'd just wake up and it'd just be the same day over and over and over again. And football is so important to me and thousands of other people in terms of being that routine and seeing your best mates and just having a good time. So for that to be stripped back, I hope it never happens again.
I do think, like, the football side of thing, and we complained about social media and YouTube comments and stuff earlier, which is probably like, there is like a good side to that as well. And actually, like, the stuff that we do, sometimes you are actually helping people as well. I told you a story earlier before we came on, because we were talking about what we might talk about. And obviously I do my podcast. Me and Dave Reed were doing a preview, and he just announced on Instagram, he's a good friend, so it annoys me, not annoys me, but I think, what did I not know what's going on in his life? But like, him and his wife had posted that, like, she was pregnant and baby was due in 6 months or whatever. And so in the middle of the show, I just said to him, Dave, saw on Instagram you've had some news, congratulations. And he like started really talking like openly, and he just said, to be honest with you, I didn't want to do that announcement. He's like, I'm really, really scared because we've had a load of problems, we've had a load of miscarriages, and I'm going to spend the whole time worried. And he never spoke to me about that. And like, I'd had in previous relationships, I'd had 3 miscarriages as well. So we just basically started having a conversation in the middle of the match preview about it live. Yeah, because he took me by surprise, because I was like, I didn't know that.
Didn't expect that. He
went through that as well, because I've never really spoken about it. So we're talking about something there that probably men don't speak about. And then off the back of that, we got so many tweets and DMs and YouTube comments off blokes who were just saying like, that's happened to me. I've never spoken about. Hearing you and Dave speak about it was so helpful. Like, so actually, I think in the stuff that we do, you can actually like help people as well. And even this, like, it might be a bit self-indulgent, this pod. I've no idea how it's going to come across with people. But even sometimes, just in the middle of like talking about Villa, just like taking 5 minutes and speaking about something that's real, like, it helps people. Like, loads of people message saying how helpful it was and how much it had helped them and how relatable it was. But again, because me and Dave, 2 blokes, had never spoken about it, we'd actually been through like the same experience but never spoke about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you can help like loads of people, because people do look at you and like they feel like they know you, and it is helpful.
When my son was born, so my son was a COVID baby. And he nearly died when he was born. He had sepsis. We were in hospital for 2 weeks. And I still now, and my son is 6 in January.
January what?
31st.
Oh, 28th. Come on.
Yeah. I still have a baby monitor on him when he goes to bed. If I hear him cough the wrong way, I will go upstairs to check on him, because those things have scarred me. I have so much worry. Like, when me and my son's mum split up, and I'd have him every weekend, I would stay in the room that he was asleep in for the night because I can't concentrate because I'm so worried that something's going to go wrong or he's going to get poorly. And he used to get ear infections all the time as well, so he was in and out of hospital or doctors or on antibiotics because he'd always get a temperature, he'd always have problems with his ears. But the health ends, I honestly thought I was going to die because I was working myself up so much. And like sometimes I'd go and stay with him at my mum's and my mum would say to me, Ty, you've got to stop this. You've got to stop this worry. He's fine. She was like, I raised you, your brother and your sister just fine. Do you think I'm ever going to let anything happen to my grandson upstairs? And it was from that moment of when she said that to me, I was like, do you know what? I just need to chill out, man, because I've put so much pressure on myself and worrying about everything I don't need to worry about in life that my body can't take more stress. And that's kind of why I've took a bit of a backseat with social media as well, is because I've realised I can't save everybody. That's why I wouldn't say that's the reason why I don't speak about mental health much on social media anymore. It's just my love for social media has completely dwindled and I just don't have the mental capacity.
That's not your responsibility.
Yeah, but there was a stage, especially with when the Grealish stuff was going on, the DMs, I'd spend hours replying to DMs after the episode, talking to people, because I'd always say at the end, because we used to title the episodes bedtime stories, something for people to listen to, go to bed with a clear mind, and hopefully, you know, everyone's all in the same headspace. But I'd always say, if you need anything, reach out. But I'm saying that to 4,000 people live, and even if 40 people reach out, that's still 40 people who I feel like I've got that responsibility, because I've told them, reach out if you want to talk, and then they do reach out, you know. So I realised in like probably the last, like I said to these guys, I haven't publicly said it, but after this year of doing the Villa Social, and you know, we might do some fun bits from now till the end of the season, which we can't quite talk about yet, categorically I will fall off the edge of the earth in the next 12 months. And outside of you lot, anyone on social media will probably never hear from me again, because that's just where I'm at in my life. Like, I'm going through a potential autism diagnosis at the age of 34 years old. Like, I haven't openly tweeted about that, I haven't spoke about that, none of you guys know about that. It's the first time you've heard about it, and that's really difficult for me coming to terms with that. I'm not, I hate the term normal, but you know, I'm just trying to restore some calm in my life that I haven't been kind to myself. That's my problem, is I'm never kind to myself. Just like you, with when you talk about, like, you know, never feeling like you're doing well enough in your career. I never feel like I'm doing well enough as a human being, and that's something I've struggled with. Forget career aside, like, I do okay career wise, but that isn't something that bothers me. I've just never been kind to myself, and I'm now at an age where my body can't take me being harsh to myself anymore. I can't deal with burdens of worry and stuff like that, because I start to get poorly. Like, I start to feel unwell, my body feels run down. Sometimes I'll go to bed at 7 o'clock if I'm having a bad day. I've never been like that. I've been a night owl throughout my entire life, sometimes till the sun comes up. Now I'm fast asleep by 10 o'clock. I've just completely become obsessed with the quiet life, and realising that I can't save everyone, I can't do everything, and I'm just trying to take a bit of a mental step back in life.
Stuff you said about your lad, though, like, I think it's like
horrible.
No, but what's happening
Health
to you,
anxiety.
it's mental health, but like, you're a product of like an experience, and I think that's what happens to everyone. A lot of your problems you have are because something's happened to you.
Yeah, right, out of my control.
Like, so like, that's natural. What's happened to you there with your lad? Like, you wanted to sleep next to him because you were so scared at the start of his life. Like, I think that's just normal. And a lot of mental health, it just literally will come from what you've experienced, won't it?
Yeah, like when James was saying about it, he was on sertraline. I was on sertraline for a substantially long time, and the reason I didn't come off antidepressants because I needed to. I came off antidepressants because when my son was born, I felt nothing. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. My son went one way, and I didn't see him for a few hours after he was born because he was so poorly. And I think I seen him briefly, but you know, I couldn't touch or hold him or anything. And that experience was because the antidepressant I was on, it killed the worrying thoughts, but it also killed the happy thoughts. So I was a zombie. I didn't feel anything.
Grounding, aren't you, between?
Exactly, yeah. And that was where I would rather feel every ounce of pain than never feel happiness again, because that should have been the best moment of my life, and it wasn't the best moment of my life.
I'm glad you brought up the day of the birth, because it's that, isn't it? Everybody says it's the best day of your life, and
when you've been awake for 2 days of a tricky labour in itself,
yeah, exactly.
You know, being awake for 2 days with a woman who's also been awake for 2 days and they're in agony, but everything's your fault. Yeah. You only have to look out the window the wrong way, and you're like, what are you looking at the moon like that for? Do you know what I mean? Like, just as it's a scary thing. And then I remember, so I had to go home, and I remember the day after I've come back, and he's got like a cannula in his hand because he's on antibiotics because of the sepsis. And I remember a student nurse going to me, you can change him if you want. And I cried. I was like, I can't change him. Look at his small little arms. I'll break his arms if I put him in a onesie. And then at that time, you don't realise that a baby's bones are basically made of elastic anyway. You couldn't break their bones if you tried. But I remember crying. I was like, I can't change a child. And I'm like, oh, this is my child. I'm going to have to change him every day. And, you know, little things like that, like just that are really small that I'd make an absolute mountain out of.
Obviously, when my son was born, it was for the birth. His mom had it far worse, obviously, but something that is not spoken about is what the dads go through as well. And obviously, there's only 2 of us here that are dads. But the birth,
hang on, Dan's a dog and rabbit dad.
Yeah, let's have some respect.
Doesn't quite count, but yes, fair enough. The day that he was born, yeah, like the good things that come with it, seeing my family with him, and amazing, obviously, but the birth itself was terrible for us. Like, for my wife, she absolutely hated it. We will not have a second child because of that.
Exclusive.
As if anyone cares. I will never forget driving to the hospital in the morning at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and she had to have a emergency C-section. That was not the plan. Like, a normal C-section was not the plan, and everything. I don't want to go into this massively because it's a big story and we don't have time. But everything at the hospital, if the time is slightly wrong as a visitor, you're f***ed basically. So visiting hours like close at 8 o'clock. So they started off the process at like 7. So like an hour in, it's like, oh, you've got to go now. I was like, oh, okay.
Really? I would never have known.
So like all like the process of like, we're going to start off whatever it is. Yeah. It's going to take 12 hours to work. I'm gone for like 11 of those hours. So she's going through all that by herself. Yeah. Day 1, done. Okay, next day, come back. Right, next thing, we'll start it off 6 o'clock. Well, I'm going to have to leave again. Like, everything was kind of out of whack of visiting hours. And then on the night where it's like, you might go into labour, I think that was the second night.
Is that a normal experience in a hospital? I swear birthing partners can stay there.
Is that COVID?
Not at the time.
After COVID?
No, this was like January 23. So after COVID, but like our protocol, you know, we're not allowed to do it, which I thought was a joke. But yeah, we didn't get to go any further than that. I think that camera's going to run out in a sec, so I'll try and be quick. So everything was kind of like during the night, basically. So I knew when I went away that night, she's probably going to go into like proper labour in the night. I'm going to have to come back. Can I not just stay? Like, I'll sleep on the floor. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to be asleep anyway. But just no, it's 8 o'clock. So I went and they rang me up, or she rang me up actually at like 4, saying like, it's getting bad. Like, can you come back? Oh, the nurse is just coming in. Oh, can you come back? Well, you're only 3 centimetres or whatever. Like, you need to be 5 before we to say to come back, or whatever it is. And I'm like on the phone, like in my mum and dad's house, because that's near the hospital. Like, I'm awake now. Like, just let me come. Like, I'm not going to be able to help, but I'd rather be there than not. And then eventually she was up to like, I don't know, whatever centimetres, where it's like, okay, it's going to be pretty soon. Come now. And it was like 7 a.m. or something. I flew down there. And when I got there, basically things were just going wrong. And I got there and I was like, because I've not been here since like 8 o'clock last night, I don't really know what the f***'s going on. I don't know the medical terms that they're talking about anyway, but like, you're like, as a dad, so out of like what the process really is. And like, there's all these like nurses running around, my partner's lying there on the bed and going through like terrible pain, and they're like, oh, we're going to break her waters now. That was the worst thing I've ever seen. That was horrible. And then they were like, they were saying that there was a problem, and they pulled like the emergency cord, And I'm just stuck. Like, I'd literally been in the room like 5 minutes. Like, they'd moved from one to another, so the bags were everywhere. And they're like, "Oh, can you? Might have to like take her to theatre. Like, can you find the nappies and the hats?" And I was like, I don't know where anything is. Like, your mind is blown. And they wheeled her off down, and then they were like, "Get all the scrubs on and everything. She's got to have a C-section." Like, that's mental in itself. Got all the gear on. I'll just wait there. They come back and go, "There's a problem. His heart rate's dropping. It's got to be an emergency C-section. Like, we've got to
get him out now.
We've got to put her to sleep so we can just do it. Take the scrubs off. Like, you're not going in." And I was just sat there, just like I was asleep like half an hour ago. Like, I don't know what's going on really. I just went into this other room and I was like, but I don't know what happens now. Like, this sounds bad. Like, they could both die. Or one of them could die.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a genuine thing. They come out, I can hear crying. Like, "Oh, he's been born." And like walked off, and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, is she all right?"
Like, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's like, like they're like saying like, "Oh, it's fine," but I'm just thinking, yeah, but I need a bit more than that. Like, give me a bit more. Like, yeah, he's fine, she's fine, and it was like, oh, okay, but like the best day of my life. That was horrible.
Trauma.
That was traumatic, and for her, far worse. Like, that was a big, serious problem. Like, that was deep trauma of like, that was a bad thing. For me, obviously, it didn't happen to me, to my body, but I was still there. Like, I was still part of the mental process of that. And that was like almost 2 years ago. But I remember like all of that. I've not told it very well, but I remember exactly how I felt through all of that. Exactly. And I'll never forget what the staff were like, what the drive was like, every single little detail of that. So like, it's kind of all the after effects of like being a dad and how that makes you feel and assess different things. But like the actual day of like the birth, terrible for women, obviously. But from a men's perspective, you don't hear often about the dad. You're just expected to go, "Well, it didn't happen to you, mate. So come on, like cheer up, change that nappy." It's like, well, I just went through all that as well. Like,
You haven't gone through the physical side, but the
like
mental side.
Like, she was like conked out on gas and air. Like, she didn't really know what was going on.
It is trauma, Dan. Honestly,
she doesn't
it
know
is
what
trauma.
happened, really.
It is trauma.
Like, on it of like, well, I know that like when that cord was pulled and somebody shouting and running in and barging doors, she don't remember any of that because she was out of it. But I was like, oh, it's horrible. It was horrible. Yeah, I don't. Obviously, we've had a little break there after that story anyway, so I don't know where we go from there next. But yeah, we've had a good chat about a few different things. Has anyone got anything else specifically they want to?
Just worried that none of that made sense. It was like a bit all over the place.
I hope it doesn't come across as like self-indulgent.
Yeah, I'm worried. I see. Even now, I'm thinking someone's going to say, "Oh, they 5 blokes sat around thinking they're a big deal talking like, about their life."
Just remember, this is just 5 blokes in a room, 5 mates in a room, just chatting. So we are going to talk about
All
ourselves.
we've done is essentially speak about things that have happened to us. But
life experiences and hopefully people. I mean, Rollo, we never knew that we had a mutual traumatic experience of childbirth until now. So that's something that where me and Rollo relate in many ways, but we didn't realise that was something that we had a mutual experience that happened to us. So if I don't think it will come across in a way of we're being self-indulgent, but I think hopefully that people can find hope or positivity in understanding that everybody goes through stuff, no matter who you are in life, whether you're a superstar celebrity like Dan Bardell, or a little camera boy bitch like Rollo, or a vlogger like Max, or an axe thrower like Gimli, or a prankster like me.
Prankster.
Yeah, I didn't know how to install myself. Yeah, exactly. Like me, there we go, that's better. Hopefully people can all find a way to relate to things that happen in life and understand that the things that they feel, because some people can think they're going crazy with the things that they feel, especially things that aren't great, and you can really feel like you're losing your mind. So if anything, this episode is, for me anyway, what I wanted for people to get from this episode was that it's okay to feel certain ways and have good days and have bad days, and even if one story relates to something in one person's life, then it makes a difference, of where someone can say, do you know what, actually that's more common than you think, or or gives someone the courage to talk to their mates, because it's really important to talk about things and not hold on. And that's the first step for people who are struggling. For me, is when you are struggling, to take that first step to talk, of whether that be on a professional level, to a doctor, to your friends, in whatever capacity you feel you need to help you get by and talk about the things that are going on in your mind. If that helps one person, then we've made a positive impact.
I spoke to somebody about this at work, that we were doing this kind of episode, and I absolutely get, and sounds stupid to say this an hour and a half after the fact, this won't be for everybody. You've clicked on an Aston Villa podcast to hear about Aston Villa, and that's fine. We do a lot of football-related content.
That's 2 out of 3 that haven't been... I wouldn't say unpleasant. I don't say this has been unpleasant.
I don't think that's the thing, but it's... We often say about, like, when things are going wrong in the football sense, or from a ticket point of view or whatever, we have a responsibility, we have a platform, and that's from a Villa perspective. We feel like we should say something. We can do whatever we want with this platform, this show. This was the point of getting us together. We're mates. We can have one episode per month where we can do whatever we want, and I felt it was timely to do it on this topic in this month because of it being November. It's an international break. What are we going to talk about? We've lost 4 games in a row.
I'm so glad we haven't had to talk about that, by the way, because 2 out of 3 podcasts, it would have been doom or gloom. I don't think we would have made episode 4.
I feel like the other way, if we'd have done something, which is fine, like rating Villa's strikers throughout the years, that just feels a bit weird and random. So I wanted it to just be, let's just have a chat and see where we go. And we've spoken about things that I didn't think that we'd speak about, and that's great. So you're absolutely right. This might not be for everybody, and it might not get as many views as the last episode or whatever. But if one person or 10 people speak to somebody, or they go, oh, I had something like that as well, maybe I should go and see somebody about that, or somebody said...
You can just relate to something.
Yeah, what somebody said to me was, and it maybe sounds dramatic, but it might save one person's life. And if only 1,000 people watch it, and that's less than we normally get, but it helps that one person, this was what this episode was for. So thank you all for doing it. Thank you. Firstly, because I know it's not always easy. So normal service resumes on the podcast for our next episode, so the next episode of The Social. But
Christmas, do you want to talk about Christmas?
We'll touch on Christmas in a sec, yeah.
Blackjack.
Do you want to do blackjack?
We haven't scored any goals since the last podcast, have we?
No, but let's do a double blackjack next time.
Everything we said at the start about various different charities, helplines, etc., all that is in the description. So if anything we've talked about has sparked something in you where you think, yeah, I should get some help, then there are resources for that. Very quickly to end, the Christmas special.
Hey, ooh, come on.
We do a Christmas special on Claret and Blue every year, and as we do the Villa Social once a month, it makes sense that December's Villa Social is the Christmas special. It'll be released the week of Christmas, I think, the weekend before Christmas. So I think it's something like the Sunday, the 21st or 22nd of December will be the day that the episode comes out, but we're filming it in a couple of weeks. None of you really know what's going on, which is part of the fun.
Oh, so you do know what's going on? I thought you just didn't have a clue what we were going to do.
No, I know what we're doing.
Oh, fair enough.
Oi, Kendrick, there better be some a bit of turkey in there, mate, and a bit of gravy.
Get the budget out.
We're doing some kind of like game show.
Oh,
so
wow.
What it'll be, the format is us 5 plus Matt and John. Matt is going to be like the host, the quiz master, the guy who runs it. And then we're going to have 2 teams of 3 of us 5 plus John, split into teams, and we're basically going to go against each other in various little games. And
I like it.
Nice.
Go with John.
I think there will be a quiz element, but things like we've done before, some of you have done before, like the Would I Lie to You? We did an episode, didn't we? We might have a round of that. There might be a round of something else. I will tell you off air, not now, what we're doing, so you have some kind of prep. But that will be a mystery for us all, and I am partly going to be a mystery as well, because I want to play the game with you. So let's wrap it there. This has been November's episode of the Villa Social. We'll be back again for the Christmas special in the week leading up to the big day, if you like. Thanks everyone for doing it. Hopefully those of you who watch this episode or listen to it enjoyed it as best you can. I feel like you're right, saying enjoying it is a weird phrase. I think on what we've talked about.
We hope it was relatable.
Yeah, hopefully you've got something out of it. Let's say that. Thanks for watching or listening, and we'll see you again on the podcast in a few days and on the social in a month.